As a returning player who took years upon years of a break from this game today, I have been on a journey reviewing, reacting, and taking a look at some modern cards that I've never seen before. And today, we are going to be taking a look at, excuse me if you can hear my notification, what a great time for that to happen. We are going to be taking a look at the Vaylantz archetype. It's an archetype that I've never heard of before, but it was suggested that we take a look at it. And I'm here to take a look at anything that you guys want, so thank you so much for the suggestion. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's get started with Arctos, the Chronochasm Vaylantz. Alright, so it's a Pendulum Fusion monster, and it's been explained to me in the comments how Pendulum Fusion cards work, but it's actually escaping my memory. There's some cards that I'm like, okay, well, how does this work? And it was like a Synchro Pendulum card. Regardless, I'm sure it's an easy way to summon it, okay? Anyways, you can activate one of these effects. Special summon this card to your main monster zone in its same column. Move one monster in your main monster zone to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay. I don't know how useful that'll be, but I guess we might figure it out as the cards go on, okay? So now for the monster effect. Must first be special summoned from your face down extra deck by tributing the above cards. Quick effect. Okay, so it's just interesting. It's a fusion card just by tributing cards. Okay, but anyways, we have a quick effect here. You can switch the locations of two monsters in your main monster zones or two monsters in your opponent's main monster zones. If a card in a monster zone moves to another monster zone except during the damage step, you can destroy one card in the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so I can see this being helpful, and I don't know I don't really know like how useful this entire archetype's going to be about moving cards, but this might have been like when links were just coming out and then like the whole pointing to thing was a massive deal. And I actually truthfully don't still know if it's a massive deal, but I know when links came out, it was a big thing, like, oh, monster points to here, but just to have the card effect that just destroys a card, and then like you also have that effect that moves a monster, so you basically get a free pop each turn. That's pretty good. Okay, we have another pendulum card over here. We have Yugioh the Vaylantz Warrior. If Vaylantz World Shinra Basho is in the field zone, or if you control a water Vaylantz monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column. You can only use this effect of Yugioh once per turn. And for the monster effect, you can target one face-up card in either spell and trap card zone, return it to the hand. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone except during the damage step, you can fusion summon one Vaylantz fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, field, and or pendulum zones. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, I like the fact that this acts as a fusion summoning card. Now, if anybody could clarify this in the comments, I would appreciate it. Does that include the fusion monster that we just talked about, where it's like, hey, you have to fusion summon this by tributing monsters? Does that still count? Other than that, I don't even know if we're going to take a look at any other fusion monsters, but it's okay. I can see like that you're constantly bouncing around the monster zones. We have another fusion card over here, okay? Very interesting. Anyways, we have Momonaka the Vaylantz United. You can activate one of these effects. Special summon this card to your main monster zone in its same column. Move one monster in your main monster zone to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. Okay, I'm wondering if all of these pendulum cards are kind of have the same effect over here. All right, during your main phase, which is a quick effect, you can target one effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Place that opponent's monster face up as a continuous spell in their spell and trap card zone in the same column. If the zone is occupied, destroy the occupying card, and if it is a monster, if it is a monster card, your opponent loses life points equal to that attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this special summon card you control is destroyed by opponent's card effect, you can place it in your pendulum zone. I think that's a pretty good card. I like that a lot. Just taking out the monster in general, like, hey, oh no. And plus you have all of the effects where you can like move cards too, so you could probably just end up destroying these cards instead of placing the spell and trap card zone. But then again, you could also just like take up your opponent's back row, which I've always liked doing back in the day. Okay, we have another pendulum card, Nazuki the Vaylantz Ninja. For the pendulum effect, if Vaylantz World Shinra Basho is in a field zone, or if you control a water Vaylantz monster, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column. Okay, same kind of deal with all of these. If they're all the same effect, I'm not going to read them anymore. You can target one other monster in either main monster zone, move that monster to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one Vaylantz monster card in your spell and trap card zone, special summon it to your main monster zone in the same column. It's given me like a little bit of Crystal Beast vibes. A little bit. But you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know if there's like, I don't know if this is a common thing that decks do nowadays. I don't know if it's a common thing for links and pendulums where cards go into the spell and trap card zone, which I don't think so. But then again, I've been out of it for so long that I'm actually not familiar with it. But we also have Scion the Vaylantz Archer. Okay, let's see. What does this pendulum effect do? Okay. It's a little bit different. All right. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone into the same column. Also, you cannot special summon non-Vaylantz monsters for the rest of this turn except from the extra deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. And for the monster effect, if you control this special summoned card, you can target one effect monster in the field, toss a coin, and if the result is heads, negate its effects, or if the result is tails, half its attack. If this card in the main monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one card on the field, toss a coin, and if the result is head, destroy it, or if the result is tails, return it to the hand. I like the fact that at least when you come to a coin flip effect, both of them have a positive effect, but at the same time you might be hoping for one, so you still have that gambling aspect to it. Hey, maybe we can start throwing this thing into an Arcana Force deck. I've always, guys, if you're new to the channel over here, always a big fan of Arcana Force cards over here, but I think it's a useful card, but of course, like, you have to be careful with the cards where you start like gambling with what effect that you would like to use. We also have Shinome the Vaylantz Priestess. During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column. Also, and oh, it's the same deal. Okay, maybe it's for the lower level monsters over here. It has the same pendulum effect, and they're probably just using it. And remind me if it's called the scales. I could be wrong about that, but like the blue level, the red level over here, I think that's called scales. I'm gonna look so stupid if it's not called that, but anyways, during your main phase, if you control this special summon card, you can add one Vaylantz spell from your deck to your hand. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can add one Vaylantz monster from your deck to your hand, except the Priestess. You can only use this effect once per turn. I feel like that's a nice normal 2-star that you could add to the deck. It's something that probably every Vaylantz deck does. And also, I'm curious about how well this ended up performing. We still have a lot of cards to take a look at too, okay? We also have Vaylantz Buster Baron, okay? During your main phase, you can special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column. Also, same deal. If you control this special summon card, you can target one other Vaylantz monster in your main monster zone. Move that monster you control to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one card in either player's pendulum zone, place it face up in its adjacent spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell. Now that I'm thinking about this, do you still get the pendulum effect? If it's just moved down to your spell and trap card zone, because this is kind of like the spell card version of the monster, and that's what pendulums are. I would imagine that's the thing. Like, if you were to move one of your pendulum cards down to the spell and trap card zone, why would that be an effect that you would want to choose? I would imagine that you still get that pendulum effect, and that gives you more opportunity to summon another pendulum monster into the pendulum zone. I'm guessing that's how it works, but again, could be totally wrong. I'm learning with everybody over here, okay? We also have Vaylantz Dominator Duke. If Vaylantz World Koenig Wissen, is in a field spell, or if you control a fire Vaylantz monster, you can special summon this card in your main monster zone in the same column. You can target one set card in the spell and trap card zone. That set card cannot be activated this turn, even if this card leaves the field. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can target one face-up monster in your opponent's main monster zone, take control of that face-up monster, but it cannot declare an attack nor activate its effects. It's also treated as a Vaylantz monster. Guys, if you know me, if you've been following the channel, I have always been somebody who has been a massive fan in taking control of my opponent's monsters. I love creature swap over the years. Enemy controller is a main staple of mine when it comes to Frog Monarchs. Always running 3 copies of that bad boy, and even like in X-Sabers and things like that. I've always loved taking control of my opponent's monsters, and I've always liked using things like, things like exchange weird things. I'm weird like that, okay? We also have a very cool looking card, Vaylantz Genesis Grand Duke. Look at this, man. All right, you can activate one of these effects. Special summon this card to your main monster zone in the same column, or move one monster in your main monster zone to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. Okay, so I'm getting the right idea. So there's scale 1 and scale 10, again, assuming that's what it's called, and the lower levels have the same pendulum effect, and the higher levels have the same pendulum effect, okay? This face-down card in the extra deck must first be either fusion summoned or special summoned by attributing one level 5 or higher non-fusion Vaylantz monster in the same column as the extra monster zone. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone, return to the hand, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack, then this card gains attack equal to half the damage inflicted. Okay. I don't know how often this effect would take place, because I've known there's a lot of cards that you can start placing into the spell and trap card zone. If you end up doing that often, then this would be a really good card, because you get to inflict damage, and that monster right here, the Grand Duke, gets that attack too. If that's a thing that happens often, where your opponent has those cards in the spell and trap card zone, then this card is very good. But other than that, I'm honestly not too sure. Let's continue on over to Vaylantz Mad Marcus. Okay. If Vaylantz World, okay, same deal with the pendulum effect. We're not going to read that anymore. During your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die. Excavate that many cards from the top of your deck. Excuse me if you can hear my notifications. Sorry about that. Excavate that many cards from the top of your deck, or as many as you can. And if you do, you can add one excavated Vaylantz card to your hand. Also, shuffle the rest of the deck. If this card in the main monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can roll a 6-sided die. And if you roll a 2, 3, 4, or 5, special summon one monster card from your spell and trap card zone to your main monster zone in its same column. I think it's a fun card. I think it's a good card. Again, I'm getting a little bit of Crystal Beast vibes with this thing. I just don't know how often this is going to happen to your opponent. Unless, like, that fusion monster, there's other archetypes where you're bouncing cards into the spell and trap card zone. Maybe it's just something that I've never heard of. Maybe it's like a strategy that brand new decks do nowadays. And I don't even know how old this archetype is right here. But I think it's fun. Adding a dice roll, adding a coin flip to the game is always something that I welcome. I have a good time doing it. Let's continue on over to Vaylantz Voltage Viscount. Dude, all of these cards look so good. We are definitely going to be making a card art commentary video on it, okay? I love it. All right, let's see. During your main phase, if you control the special summon card, you can place one face-up Vaylantz Pendulum monster from your extra deck face up in your spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell. If this card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone, you can place one face-up Vaylantz Pendulum monsters from your extra deck into your pendulum zone. You can only use each effect once per turn. This is a good card. The more that I'm seeing these cards coming out, the more I'm kind of understanding how well each card seems to be able to flow with each card, and I can see this being like a fairly strong deck. The problem is, I don't really know its competition level, but it does look like a very, very strong deck from an outside perspective over here, okay? Excuse me. We also have Vaylantz Awakening Solo Activation. Place one Vaylantz monster pendulum monster from your deck in your pendulum zone. If a card is in the field zone, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Vaylantz monster in your main monster zone, move that monster you control to an adjacent horizontal monster zone. You can only use each effect once per turn, so it's pretty much just another way to start moving your monsters around, get the effect going off, so it seems like it's an okay card. We also have Vaylantz Wars, the Place of Beginning. Very weird how this is. Are these a bunch of, like, dolls on a shelf? Alright, we're gonna have a little bit to talk to when it comes to the card art commentaries. Add one Vaylantz field spell from your deck to your hand, then you can apply the following effect. Destroy one Pendulum monster card you control, and if you do, add one Send It switch from your deck to your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard except the turn that it was sent there, you can banish this card, place one face of Vaylantz Pendulum monster from your extra deck in your pendulum zone. You can only use each effect once per turn. Depending on how good that Send It switch card is, I think it's a very good card because you also have that other effect where you get the Pendulum monster back. Very good card. Let's see. I don't know when we're going to see the switch card, but whatever. Let's continue on to Vaylantz Wave Master Phase. It's a continuous trap card. Once per turn, if a card in the monster zone moves to another monster zone except during the damage step, you can activate one of these effects. Level 5 or higher Vaylantz monsters you control currently gain 1200 attack until the end of the turn. Alright. Send this face-up card from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, then target one effect monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Place that opponent's monster face-up as a continuous spell in their spell and trap card zone in the same column. If the zone is occupied, destroy the occupying card. Huh. That's crazy that it's just once per turn if a monster moves to another monster zone. That's really good. But the problem is, the second effect, I know it would be like incredibly busted if it didn't have the cost, but like the fact that you have to send to the graveyard to move one of your opponent's cards in spell and trap card zone. But dude, that first effect alone is just worth it. 1200 attack is a significant boost, okay? And here we have Vaylantz World Konigwissen? Am I saying that right? Anyways, when this card is activated, which is a field spell card I should have mentioned, place one Vaylantz field spell from your deck face up in your opponent's field zone. Okay, interesting. If there are two cards in the field zones, the turn player can target one effect monster in the opponent's main monster zone. In the same column as one of the monsters they control, they place that opponent's monster face up as a continuous spell in their spell and trap card zone in the same column. Oh, I see how much this can bounce around now. Perhaps this is one of the cards that we should have started with. I like the fact that you're putting on your opponent's field too, and you're kind of like playing that game with each other. Huh. It's a very, very unique way to play the game. I kind of like it. And I'm also just realizing too that this is just a table. It's so weird. I can't wait to talk about the card art behind these cards. Interesting, man. Okay, all right. That's a very, very cool card. We also have another field spell, the Shinra Bansho card, okay? So it's the other side, I'm guessing. Oh, hang on. Did the other one say, did the other one say that you could place one Vaylantz field spell? Oh, it doesn't have to be this one. Okay, let's see what this one's all about, okay? When this card is activated, place one Vaylantz field spell from your deck in your opponent's field zone, except Vaylantz World, this one, of course. If there are 2 cards in the field zones, the turn player can target 1 monster card in their own spell and trap card zone. They special summon that card to their main monster zone in the same column. That is incredibly unique for, like, just an archetype in general. I wonder how those games would go. Huh. Out of everything that we've taken a look at so far, guys, learning Modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think this just might be the most interesting archetype that we've taken a look at so far. And again, it might not even be that interesting because maybe this is a common thing for decks, but I don't think that's the case. Very cool. This is a great suggestion, by the way. Now we have, of course, the continuous spell Senate switch. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster in the main monster zone and choose one of his unused adjacent horizontal monster zones. Move that target to the chosen adjacent zone. Now, that's helpful with all of the effects. And that's one of the searching cards that you get too, so it's a pretty good card. I feel like this deck runs very, very smoothly together, but unfortunately, as of right now, we don't have a card art commentary out for these cards, but I'm excited to talk about that one. But for now, why don't you take a look at the Eldritch archetype that we just uploaded about breaking down the artwork behind the decks and cards that we love. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.